There we go. That was the go button on the YouTubes there. Yeah, so we finished the Lone Star Ranger yesterday. Zane Grey's Lone Star Ranger. And we finished it midweek, and we really don't start new novels on a Wednesday or Thursday. Well, basically midweek, because, you know, you just get a couple of days in, and then it's like a, big long break over the weekend. So I decided that we're going to work on a longer short story, one which is not going to fit into a single day. So it's going to be broken up over 2 days, today and tomorrow. Something I've been meaning to read for a long time, The Dunwich Horror by H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, I think we all like a little spooky story. Maybe a spooky story before we go to bed there, Miserable. Maybe not so good. I don't know. I hope you'll be able to sleep okay with the lights out after hearing this one. I can't be held responsible if you're staring at the ceiling all night. Keeping those feet well under the covers in case something reaches up from below. I don't know. Anyway, it's supposedly, I've never read it. I've never read this piece of Lovecraft before, so it's supposedly one of the prime pieces of the whole Cthulhu mythos. So should be interesting. We're going to see how it goes, see how it leads. If you need more information about this particular story, here's a wiki link for it. And it was first published in 1929 in Weird Tales. That's when it was first published, and it was, from what I just read, it was his first blockbuster paycheck that he got. He was like very unsure about it when he wrote it, as he was, I think, about most of his material. But it was like his first massive paycheck that he got for it, for this extended short story. He got paid a pretty nice chunk of change, for it. And luckily for us, printed in Weird Tales, which means it ended up in the public domain. And here we are, and that's where we're at. Hey there, Skip. How you doing, Skip? Good morning. Well, no, it's good evening for you as well. Good evening. Good evening. Okay. So, let's see. Do we have any more news? Any more news to share? Not really. Not off the top of my head. I'm going to be working on some audio editing after the stream today, because I am shamefacedly very far behind in my editing of the Edgar Allan Poe experiment. So I need to get cracking on that. So that's that. Let's see, what else? Oh, I thank you in advance for any hosts that you throw down. Thank you. And don't forget, if you are enjoying the stream, let your friends know about it. Let them know on Twitter. Let them know on Facebook. Let them know on the platform that you're listening on, too. Right now, we are restreaming over to Twitch and Periscope and YouTube. Our main channel, of course, over here on Mixer. Book club in the morning, that's what this is right now, and gaming in the evening. And I don't restream the gaming. So if you want to join in for that, please come join us here on Mixer. But yeah, for the duration of the Rona, I'm restreaming Storytime out to as wide an audience as I can, because oh boy, I think we all need a little distraction right about now. Yeah. Mrs. Shadowtronic shared it on Facebook. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Thank you. Skip Donahue's doing well. Very cool. That's good to hear. Reading in the morning, game in the evening, awesome all the time. That's I forget the name of the girls that sang that one. That was Sugar Time. Is it Sugar Time? I think that's the name of that song. Sugar Time. Reading in the morning, gaming in the evening, awesome all the time. Yeah, you gotta make something out of that. Yeah. Yeah, I forget who did that. I actually, I was working sound on a lip sync show actually, and that was one of the songs that they did on that. I heard it a lot. Okay, let us let's see. Oh yeah. So So if anyone is unsure on how to share, underneath the stream, there's a little share icon. You know, that little weird sideways finger-looking thing. If you open up on that, it's right next to the subscribe button. Share, if you click on that, it goes share to Facebook, share to Twitter, share via email, yeah. And there's even embed stuff. I've never been able to get that to work. All right, but yeah, let your friends let your friends know about it. Maybe they need a little entertainment as well. And social chat, they can come in, they can join, they can say hi. It's all good. Or they can come in and not say anything and just lurk and listen. That's cool too. Still gravy, baby. Let's get on with it. Let us do it. This is because we're reading the Dunwich horror. The Dunwich horror. I didn't miss any important stories or anything, did I? Or things to share. I think we're all here. I think we're good to go. We are good to go. The Dunwich horror by H.P. Lovecraft. Gorgons and hydras and chimeras, dire stories of Seleno and the harpies may reproduce themselves in the brain of superstition, but they were there before. They are transcripts, types. The archetypes are in us, and eternal. How else should the recital of that which we know in a waking sense to be false come to affect us all? Is it that we naturally conceive terror from such objects, considered in their capacity of being able to inflict upon us bodily injury? Oh, least of all, these terrors are of older standing. They date beyond body, or without the body they would have been the same. That the kind of fear here treated is purely spiritual, that it is strong in proportion as it is objectless on earth, that it predominates in the period of our sinless infancy. Our difficulties, the solution of which might afford some probable insight into our anti-mundane condition, and a peep at least into the shadowland of pre-existence. A little forward by Charles Lamb. Charles Lamb, Witches and Other Night Fears. Charles Lamb and his wife, I forget his wife's name. They, I used to read a ton of their stuff when I was younger. They had all kinds of supernatural tales, more like legends, like those kinds of tales that then straight out horror. Charles Lamb and was it Mary Lamb? Maybe, but anyway, and a lot of them were actually sold as children's books too. Yeah, just in case. Interesting. Okay, wow, I haven't heard Charles Lamb's name in a long time. When a traveler in north-central Massachusetts takes the wrong fork at the junction of the Aylesbury Pike, just beyond Dean's Corners, he comes upon a lonely and curious country. The ground gets higher, and the briar-bordered stone walls press closer and closer against the ruts of the dusty, curving road. The trees of the frequent forest belts seem too large, and the wild weeds, brambles, and grasses attain a luxuriance not often found in settled regions. At the same time, the planted fields appear singularly few and barren, while the sparsely scattered houses wear a surprisingly uniform aspect of age, squalor, and dilapidation. Without knowing why, one hesitates to ask directions from the gnarled, solitary figures spied now and then on crumbling doorsteps or on the sloping, rock-strewn meadows. Those figures are so silent and furtive that one feels somehow confronted by forbidden things with which it would be better to have nothing to do. When a rise in the road brings the mountains in view above the deep woods, the feeling of strange uneasiness is increased. The summits are too rounded and symmetrical to give a sense of comfort and naturalness, and sometimes the sky silhouettes, with a special clearness, the queer circles of tall stone pillars with which most of them are crowned. Gorges and ravines of problematical depth intersect the way, and the crude wooden bridges always seem of dubious safety. When the road dips again, there are stretches of marshland that one instinctively dislikes, and indeed almost fears at evening, when unseen whippoorwills chatter and the fireflies come out in abnormal profusion to dance to the raucous, creepily insistent rhythms of stridently piping bullfrogs. The thin, shining line of the Miskatonic's upper reaches has an oddly serpent-like suggestion as it winds close to the feet of the domed hills among which it rises. Good morning, future pilot. Stay safe on them roads, man. As the hills draw nearer, one heeds their wooded sides more than their stone-crowned tops. Those sides loom up so darkly and precipitously that one wishes they would keep their distance, but there is no road by which to escape them. Across a covered bridge, one sees a small village huddled between the stream and the vertical slope of Round Mountain, and wonders at the cluster of rotting gambrel roofs bespeaking an earlier architectural period than that of the neighboring region. It is not reassuring to see, on a closer glance, that most of the houses are deserted and falling to ruin, and that the broken-steepled church now harbors the one slovenly mercantile establishment of the hamlet. One dreads to trust the tenebrous tunnel of the bridge, yet there is no way to avoid it. Once across, it is hard to prevent the impression of a faint, malign odor about the village street, as of the massed mold and decay of the centuries. It is always a relief to get clear of the place, and to follow the narrow road around the base of the hills and across the level country beyond, till it rejoins the Aylesbury Pike. Afterward, one sometimes learns that one has been through Dunwich. Outsiders visit Dunwich as seldom as possible, and since a certain season of horror, all the signboards pointing toward it have been taken down. The scenery, judged by any ordinary aesthetic canon, is more than commonly beautiful. Yet there is no influx of artists or summer tourists. 2 centuries ago, when talk of witch blood, Satan worship, and strange forest presences was not laughed at, it was the custom to give reasons for avoiding the locality. In our sensible age, since the Dunwich horror of 1928 was hushed up by those who had the town's and the world's welfare at heart, people shun it without knowing exactly why. Even Antitoxic Gamer does not know why. Perhaps one reason, though it cannot apply to uninformed strangers, is that the natives are now repellently decadent, having gone far along that path of retrogression so common in many New England backwaters. They have come to form a race by themselves, with the well-defined mental and physical stigmata of degeneracy and inbreeding. The average of their intelligence is woefully low, whilst their annals reek of overt viciousness and of half-hidden murders, incests, and deeds of almost unnameable violence and perversity. The old gentry, representing the 2 or 3 armigerous families, what does that mean? A person entitled to heraldic arms. The old gentry, representing the 2 or 3 armigerous families which came from Salem in 1692, have kept somewhat above the general level of decay, though many branches are sunk into the sordid populace so deeply that only their names remain as a key to the origin they disgrace. Some of the Whateleys and bishops still send their eldest sons to Harvard and Miskatonic, though those sons seldom return to the moldering gambrel roofs under which they and their ancestors were born. It's called Stream Avatar, Mr. Killers. No one, even those who have the facts concerning the recent horror, can say just what is the matter with Dunwich. Though old legends speak of unhallowed rites and conclaves of the Indians, amidst which they called forbidden shapes of shadow out of the great rounded hills, and made wild, orgiastic prayers that were answered by loud crackings and rumblings from the ground below. In 1747, the Reverend Abijah Hoadley, newly come to the Congregational Church at Dunwich Village, preached a memorable sermon on the close presence of Satan and his imps, in which he said, "It must be allowed that these blasphemies of an infernal train of demons are matters of too common knowledge to be denied. The cursed voices of Azazel and Buzrael, of Beelzebub and Belial, being heard now from underground by above a score of credible witnesses now living. I myself did not more than a fortnight ago catch a very plain discourse of evil powers in the hill behind my house, wherein there were a rattling and rolling, groaning, screeching, and hissing, such as no things of this earth could raise up, and which must needs have come from those caves that only black magic can discover, and only the devil unlock." Good morning, Booman. Mr. Hoadley disappeared soon after delivering this sermon, but the text, printed in Springfield, is still extant. Noises in the hills continued to be reported from year to year, and still form a puzzle to geologists and physiographers. Other traditions tell of foul odors near the hill-crowning circles of stone pillars, and of rushing, airy presences to be heard faintly at certain hours from stated points at the bottom of the great ravines, while still others try to explain the Devil's Hop Yard, a bleak, blasted hillside where no tree, shrub, or grass blade will grow. Then, too, the natives are mortally afraid of the numerous whippoorwills which grow vocal on warm nights. It is vowed that the birds are psychopomps, lying in wait for the souls of the dying, and that they time their eerie cries in unison with the sufferer's struggling breath. If they can catch the fleeing soul when it leaves the body, they instantly flutter away, chittering in demoniac laughter. But if they fail, they subside gradually into a disappointed silence. Good morning, Rose. Antitoxic Gamer's here, Boomin is here, Metal Guru's here. They're all piling on in. Good morning. Yeah, so stream avatars. That was the name of the little sprite thing there, Chaos Killer. Yeah, let me just switch my... actually, I just need to change my noise gate. That should be okay. Oh, one second. One second. All right, yeah, so for those who have just joined us there, we're reading... It's going to be a 2-day read, 2 days. So it should be pretty good. Yeah, minus 25. Yeah. There we go. Okay, let's get... so far, so good? So far, so... Oh, yeah, for those who want a little background on what we're reading, the Dunwich Horror, there's the Wikipedia link for it. Also, for those newly arrived, thank you for those hosts. Thank you for hitting that share stream button, letting people on Twitter and Facebook know. Let's get back to it. These tales, of course, are obsolete and ridiculous because they come down from very old times. Dunwich is indeed ridiculously old, older by far than any of the communities within 30 miles of it. South of the village one may still spy the cellar walls and chimney of the ancient Bishop House, which was built before 1700, whilst the ruins of the mill at the Falls, built in 1806, form the most modern piece of architecture to be seen. Industry did not flourish here, and the 19th century factory movement proved short-lived. Oldest of all are the great rings of rough-hewn stone columns on the hilltops, but these are more generally attributed to the Indians than to the settlers. Deposits of skulls and bones found within these circles and around the sizable table-like rock on Sentinel Hill sustain the popular belief that such spots were once the burial places of the Pocumtucks, even though many ethnologists, disregarding the absurd improbability of such a theory, persist in believing the remains Caucasian. What's a Pocumtuck? Not listed. Oh, good morning, Lightning. Good morning, sir. It was in the township of Dunwich, in a large and partly inhabited farmhouse, set against a hillside 4 miles from the village, and 1.5 miles from any other dwelling, that Wilbur Whately was born at 5 a.m. on Sunday, the 2nd of February, 1913. This date was recalled because it was Candlemas, which people in Dunwich curiously observe under another name, and because the noises in the hills had sounded, and all the dogs of the countryside had barked persistently throughout the night before. Less worthy of notice was the fact that the mother was one of the decadent Whateleys, a somewhat deformed, unattractive albino woman of 35, living with an aged and half-insane father about whom the most frightful tales of wizardry had been whispered in his youth. Lavinia Whateley had known no husband, but according to the custom of the region made no attempt to disavow the child, concerning the other side of whose ancestry the country folk might, and did, speculate as widely as they chose. On the contrary, she seemed strangely proud of the dark, goatish-looking infant who formed such a contrast to her own sickly and pink-eyed albinism, and was heard to mutter many curious prophecies about its unusual powers and tremendous future. Lavinia was one who would be apt to mutter such things, for she was a lone creature, given to wandering amidst thunderstorms in the hills, and trying to read the great, odorous books which her father had inherited through 2 centuries of Whateleys, and which were fast falling to pieces with age and wormholes. She had never been to school, but was filled with disjointed scraps of ancient lore that old Whateley had taught her. The remote farmhouse had always been feared because of old Whateley's reputation for black magic, and the unexplained death by violence of Mrs. Whateley when Lavinia was 12 years old. It had not helped to make the place popular. Isolated among strange influences, Lavinia was fond of wild and grandiose daydreams and singular occupations. Nor was her leisure much taken up by household cares in a home from which all standards of order and cleanliness had long since disappeared. There was a hideous screaming which echoed above even the hill noises, and the dogs barking on the night Wilbur was born. But no known doctor or midwife presided at his coming. Neighbors knew nothing of him till a week afterward, when old Whateley drove his sleigh through the snow into Dunwich village and discoursed incoherently to the group of loungers at Osborne's general store. There seemed to be a change in the old man, an added element of furtiveness in the clouded brain which subtly transformed him from an object to a subject of fear. Though he was not one to be perturbed by any common family event. Amidst it all, he showed some trace of the pride later noticed in his daughter, and what he said of the child's paternity was remembered by many of his hearers years afterward. "I don't care what folks think. If Lavinia's boy looked like his pa, he wouldn't look like nothing you expect. You needn't think the only folks is the folks hereabouts. Lavinia's read some, and has seed some things the most of ye only tell about. I calc'late her man is as good a husband as ye can find this side of Aylesbury, and if you knowed as much about the hills as I do, you wouldn't ask no better church wedding nor hern. Let me tell you something. Some day you folks hear a child of Lavinia's a-callin' its father's name on the top of Sentinel Hill." The only persons who saw Wilbur during the first month of his life were old Zechariah Whately, of the undecayed Whateleys, and Earl Sawyer's common-law wife, Mamie Bishop. Mamie's visit was frankly one of curiosity, and her subsequent tales did justice to her observations. But Zechariah came to lead a pair of Alderneys cows, which old Whately had bought of his son Curtis. This marked the beginning of a course of cattle buying on the part of small Wilbur's family, which ended only in 1928, when the Dunwich horror came and went. Yet at no time did the ramshackle Whately barn seem overcrowded with livestock. There came a period when people were curious enough to steal up and count the herd that grazed precariously on the steep hillside above the old farmhouse, and they could never find more than 10 or 12 anemic, bloodless-looking specimens. Evidently some blight or distemper, perhaps sprung from the unwholesome pasturage or the diseased fungi and timbers of the filthy barn, caused a heavy mortality amongst the Whately animals. Odd wounds or sores, having something of the aspect of incisions, seemed to afflict the visible cattle, and once or twice during the earlier months certain callers fancied they could discern similar sores about the throats of the gray, unshaven old man and his slatternly, crinkly-haired albino daughter. In the spring, after Wilbur's birth, Lavinia resumed her customary rambles in the hills, bearing in her misproportioned arms the swarthy child. Public interest in the Whateleys subsided after most of the country folk had seen the baby, and no one bothered to comment on the swift development which that newcomer seemed every day to exhibit. Wilbur's growth was indeed phenomenal, for within 3 months of his birth he had attained a size and muscular power not usually found in infants under a full year of age. His motions, and even his vocal sounds, showed a restraint and deliberateness highly peculiar in an infant, and no one was rarely unprepared when, at 7 months, he began to walk unassisted, with falterings which another month was sufficient to remove. It was somewhat after this time, on Halloween, that a great blaze was seen at midnight on the top of Sentinel Hill, where the old table-like stone stands amidst its tumulus of ancient bones. Considerable talk was started when Silas Bishop, of the undecayed bishops, mentioned having seen the boy running sturdily up that hill ahead of his mother about an hour before the blaze was remarked. Silas was rounding up a stray heifer, but he nearly forgot his mission when he fleetingly spied the 2 figures in the dim light of his lantern. They darted almost noiselessly through the underbrush, and the astonished watcher seemed to think they were entirely unclothed. Afterward, he could not be sure about the boy, who may have had some kind of a fringed belt and a pair of dark trunks or trousers on. Wilbur was never subsequently seen alive and conscious, without complete and tightly buttoned attire, the disarrangement or threatened disarrangement of which always seemed to fill him with anger and alarm. His contrast with his squalid mother and grandfather in this respect was thought very notable, until the horror of 1928 suggested the most valid of reasons. Oh, this is a bit of a slow burner, isn't it? So far, so good. You're still with me? Just letting the atmosphere build a little. I like it. I dig it. Holy moly. Candlemas is the best word, says Dev Gamer. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Good morning, Dev Gamer. Shadowtronics made it in. He's here. Mantillable Cat's here. Very nice. And of course, Rose arrived a little earlier. Good morning. The next January gossips were mildly interested in the fact that Lavini's black brat had commenced to talk, and at the age of only 11 months. His speech was somewhat remarkable, both because of its difference from the ordinary accents of the region, and because it displayed a freedom from infantile lisping, of which many children of 3 or 4 might well be proud. The boy was not talkative, yet when he spoke, he seemed to reflect some elusive element, wholly unpossessed by Dunwich and its denizens. The strangeness did not reside in what he said, or even in the simple idioms he used, but seemed vaguely linked with his intonation, or with the internal organs that produced the spoken sounds. His facial aspect, too, was remarkable for its maturity. For though he shared his mother's and grandfather's chinlessness, his firm and precociously shaped nose united with the expression of his large, dark, almost Latin eyes, to give him an air of quasi-adulthood and well-nigh preternatural intelligence. He was, however, exceedingly ugly, despite his appearance of brilliancy, there being something almost goatish or animalistic about his thick lips, large-pored yellowish skin, coarse, crinkly hair, and oddly elongated ears. He was soon disliked even more decidedly than his mother and grandsire, and all conjectures about him were spiced with references to the bygone magic of old Whately, and how the hills once shook when he shrieked the dreadful name of Yog-Sothoth in the midst of a circle of stones, with a great book open in his arms before him. Dogs abhorred the boy, and he was always obliged to take various defensive measures against their barking menace. Yeah. Shadowtronics is eating some lunch and waiting for the storm to roll in. Yeah, okay, it's not, hope it's not tornado weather. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna have a little sip of coffee. We're gonna get back to this in just one moment. Just one moment. Gonna be good. Oh. Yeah, they were talking about Candlemas a little earlier. I think I mispronounced it too, because they only had one S in this copy here. And I was like, Candlemas. But there we go. That's what happens when you're reading live. Hoping against hope. hoping against hope that the thing's gonna be good. Man. All these pre-recorded AFK streams on the front page of Mixer. Terrible. Alright. I should not whine. But I will. Taking up my spot. Right. Okay. Back into it we go. Yes, they are. And they know it. Meanwhile, what's that? It sounds like Mix's constellations turning on and off. Right. Okay. Meanwhile, old Whately continued to buy cattle without measurably increasing the size of his herd. He also cut timber and began to repair the unused parts of his house. A spacious, peaked-roofed affair whose rear end was buried entirely in the rocky hillside, and whose 3 least-ruined ground-floor rooms had always been sufficient for himself and his daughter. There must have been prodigious reserves of strength in the old man to enable him to accomplish so much hard labor. And though he still babbled dementedly at times, his carpentry seemed to show the effects of sound calculation. It had already begun as soon as Wilbur was born, when one of the many tool sheds had been put suddenly in order, clapboarded and fitted with a stout, fresh lock. Now, in restoring the abandoned upper story of the house, he was a no less thorough craftsman. His mania showed itself only in his tight boarding up of all the windows in the reclaimed section, though many declared that it was a crazy thing to bother with the reclamation at all. Less inexplicable was his fitting up of another downstairs room for his new grandson, a room which several callers saw, though no one was ever admitted to. A room which several callers saw, though no one was ever admitted to the closely boarded upper story. This chamber he lined with tall, firm shelving, along which he began gradually to arrange, in apparently careful order, all the rotting ancient books and parts of books, which during his own day had been heaped promiscuously in odd corners of the various rooms. "I made some use of 'em," he would say, as he tried to mend a torn black letter page with paste prepared on the rusty kitchen stove. "But the boy's fittin' to make better use of 'em. He'd orter have 'em as well as sot as he kin, for they're gonna be all of his larnin'." When Wilbur was a year and 7 months old, in September of 1914, his size and accomplishments were almost alarming. He had grown as large as a child of 4, and was a fluent and incredibly intelligent talker. He ran freely about the fields and hills, and accompanied his mother on all her wanderings. At home he would pore diligently over the queer pictures and charts in his grandfather's books, while old Whately would instruct and catechize him through long, hushed afternoons. By this time the restoration of the house was finished, and those who watched it wondered why one of the upper windows had been made into a solid plank door. It was a window in the rear of the east gable end, close against the hill, and no one could imagine why a cleated wooden runway was built up to it from the ground. About the period of this work's completion, People noticed that the old tool house, tightly locked and windowlessly clapboarded since Wilbur's birth, had been abandoned again. The door swung listlessly open, and when Earl Sawyer once stepped within after a cattle-selling call on Old Whately, he was quite discomposed by the singular odor he encountered. Such a stench, he averred, as he had never before smelt in all his life, except near the Indian circles on the hills, and which could not come from anything sane or of this earth. But then, the homes and sheds of Dunwich folk have never been remarkable for olfactory immaculateness. The following months were void of visible events, save that everyone swore to a slow but steady increase in the mysterious hill noises. On May Eve of 1915, there were tremors which even the Aylesbury people felt, and whilst the following Halloween produced an underground rumbling queerly synchronized with bursts of flame. Them witch Whately's doin's from the summit of Sentinel Hill. Wilbur was growing up uncannily, so that he looked like a boy of 10 as he entered his 4th year. He read avidly by himself now, but talked much less than formerly. A settled taciturnity was absorbing him, and for the first time people began to speak specifically of the dawning look of evil in his goatish face. He would sometimes mutter an unfamiliar jargon and chant in bizarre rhythms which chilled the listener with a sense of unexplainable terror. The aversion displayed toward him by dogs had now become a matter of wide remark, and he was obliged to carry a pistol in order to traverse the countryside in safety. His occasional use of the weapon did not enhance his popularity amongst the owners of canine guardians. The few callers at the house would often find Lavinia alone on the ground floor, while odd cries and footsteps resounded in the boarded-up 2nd story. She would never tell what her father and the boy were doing up there, though once she turned pale and displayed an abnormal degree of fear when a jocose fish peddler tried the locked door leading to the stairway. That peddler told the store loungers at Dunwich Village that he thought he heard a horse stamping on that floor above. The loungers reflected, thinking of the door and runway, and of the cattle that so swiftly disappeared. Then they shuddered as they recalled tales of old Whately's youth, and of the strange things that are called out of the earth when a bullock is sacrificed at the proper time to certain heathen gods. It had for some time been noticed that dogs had begun to hate and fear the whole Whately place as violently as they hated and feared young Wilbur personally. In 1917, the war came, and Squire Sawyer Whately, as chairman of the local draft board, had hard work finding a quota of young Dunwich men fit even to be sent to a development camp. The government, alarmed at such signs of wholesale regional decadence, sent several officers and medical experts to investigate, conducting a survey which New England newspaper readers may still recall. It was the publicity attending this investigation which set reporters on the track of the Whateleys and caused the Boston Globe and Arkham Advertiser to print flamboyant Sunday stories of young Wilbur's precociousness, old Whately's black magic, the shelves of strange books, the sealed second story of the ancient farmhouse, and the weirdness of the whole region and its hill noises. Good morning, Level 5. What's up there, Pidgey Era? What's up? Thank you for that follow. Wilbur was 4.5 then, and looked like a lad of 15. His lips and cheeks were fuzzy with a coarse, dark down, and his voice had begun to break. Earl Sawyer went out to the Whately place with both sets of reporters and cameramen, and called their attention to the queer stench which now seemed to trickle down from the sealed upper spaces. It was, he said, exactly like a smell he had found in the tool shed, abandoned when the house was finally repaired, and like the faint odors which he sometimes thought he caught near the stone circles on the mountains. Dunwich folk read the stories when they appeared, and grinned over the obvious mistakes. They wondered, too, why the writers made so much of the fact that old Whately always paid for his cattle in gold pieces of extremely ancient date. The Whateleys had received their visitors with ill-concealed distaste, though they did not dare court further publicity by a violent resistance or refusal to talk. Alrighty, let me just catch up with chat here real fast. Yeah. You know, I just realized I didn't pop out my Facebook, no, not Facebook, YouTube chat. Let me put that over there on the other side. I don't think we have anyone watching on YouTube, which is fine. It's fine about it, but yeah, it doesn't show up in the restream for some reason. Don't know why. It did at one point, but everything's all broken since then. Anyway, is the story good so far? I'm kind of liking it, but tell you what, it's taken its time getting to where it's going. It has taken its time. Alrighty, so we got Johnny3254. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Glad you could join us. Level 5 is with us. Hope you can have an awesome day. No fist fights. Rose was working in the kitchen, I think she said. There's no other me. Yes. Is that why? What's blurry? What's blurry? Am I blurry right now? Is my camera out of focus? All right, one second. Let's just like that. There we go. Is that any better? I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Okay, so Rose is in. What? Why are you doing it, boy? Why are you doing the dishes? You've been in a meeting at the bank. All right. There we go. You, no. Yeah, my, wish my bank would take my phone calls right now. Very good. And Mr. Henning's here. Good morning, man. How are you doing? Mr. Henning. One of the premier artists right here on Mixer. He's in the what's in that? That's in the let's do that. We got to do it. We got to give him a shout out. Here we go. Shadowtronics, could you give Mr. Henning a shout out, please? Because he is awesome. He is awesome. Great art stream. Great. It's yeah. It's like the art teaching stream. If I want to learn. Just learn. Well, Jer Henning. We'll get back to our story in just a minute. This is before I forget. No, I'm playing Phantasy Star Online 2 right now. It's just a weird game, but they have something in it called symbol art, and they have a similar thing, and it's basically it's a way of letting like the people who play the game make their own in-game illustrations, but they don't let you like import JPEGs or whatever just to stick up or whatever, but they let you create it in game, but you can't even like draw it like with a mouse or a pen or whatever in game. They only let you use shapes, and so they have this big library of shapes, but you can change them to different colors and stuff like that, but you can put all the different shapes in there and stack them up. It's kind of like very similar to what you do. Anyway, it's called symbol art, and I don't know if you're familiar with that particular term or whatever, but the other place that they have it in too is in that got me thinking about you and your art channel, because that's how you do your stuff. It's all like basic shapes, which yeah, well, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Well, thank you, level 5. Throwing down a gift sub there for Mr. Jer Henning. Well, thank you, level 5. Good lord, that's 4 of those this week. You are on a roll. Thank you. Let me finish my thought. But the other thing too, that reminded me, in Forza Horizon 4, and actually all the Forza games, the very, very popular car game, they have a similar system. I forget what it's called, but you can make decorations and vinyls and like car decorations and paint jobs, like skins and everything for your for the cars in there, just using shapes and things like that. So I was thinking that could be like an interesting thing for you to maybe look into, because people need artists for things like that too, and if people know that you can do that kind of thing, you'd be people could hire you for that kind of thing. Hey, very good. Oh boy, well, okay, well, level 5. Thank you once again to Dev Gamer. Oh, did that, you know what, I think, actually, I don't think Shadow's here right now. Actually, we got that, Jer Henning. Yeah, anyway, so here we go. Great art channel. Everyone needs to be following this. He teaches as he goes. It's great. He's great. He's got so much, he gives so much time to his audience. And thank you, level 5. Actually, that reminds me, and here's Mr. Dev Gamer too. Dev, he streams late night. Actually, he goes later than I do. He's one of my favorite people to hand off a host to after I'm done streaming, because it's almost always family-friendly material there as well. Even sometimes he's a little grumpy, but I mean, like when you're as old as he is, then you know. So, but yeah, he is very cool late night gaming streams right here, and he's a legit game developer as well. So that's just kind of an interesting thing. Sometimes he talks about that. Alrighty. So the name of which game there, Rose? With all of this art stuff in it, all of the Forza Horizon stuff, all of the Forza Motorsport stuff too. Yeah, everything's done in shapes and colors. And in Phantasy Star Online 2, it's just called symbol art. Yeah. So yeah, but there's demand. You can make some bucks if you are good at making shapes into things, and that's exactly what Jer Henning does. Yeah, you could corner a market doing that, man. Alrighty, very cool. Okay, and thank you, level 5. That's a lot of those things, a lot of those gift subs there. A lot of those gift subs. Let me just pull up a blog mixer. Very cool. Okay, I will get back to our story in just a minute, I swear. So I'm just distracted by a few things right now. because I keep thinking of things while I'm reading, and then by the time I get around to talking about it, I've totally forgotten. Okay, so here we go. That's 5. That is a total of 5. That is 3 yesterday, 2 today. You go above and beyond level 5. Thank you. For those who might have missed it, by the way, this is a yeah, I'm posting a link right here. On Monday, Mixer announced that you can now use your Microsoft reward points to cash, to cash in for Mixer channel subs. And that's, you should be using those anyway, because with Mixer reward points, you can get like free Game Pass Ultimate. You can cash them in for like 1 or 3 or even 6 month cards for like Game Pass Ultimate. If you like playing on Xbox or even Game Pass for PC. You can also trade them in for Microsoft dollars, basically, for to use as cash when you're buying games and stuff like that. Get huge discounts, basically, buying games for PC or Xbox, or even gift card, Amazon gift cards and stuff like that too. They got a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, as far as the gaming stuff goes, free Game Pass Ultimate, free. Dollars for the Microsoft Store, Xbox Store, and now you can spend them on Mixer channel subs, which is just great. It's a great idea. It's a great idea, and it's even better than Twitch's. You know how Twitch gives away a free Prime sub every month. Well, you have to pay $120 a year to get that free Prime sub, but the Mixer reward points don't cost you nothing. So yeah, I just saved you $120. What do you think about that? Very good. You just ordered the new Sword Art Online. Is that the Sword Art Online? Oh, that'd be the game. The game. Now, is that an MMO or a single player? I was watching someone play that a couple of months ago, and it looked pretty interesting. But that actually, it seemed like I'd be more interested in watching the actual anime on that than I don't know how close the story is in that. We got someone chatting over on YouTube. Nice. Car guy borrowing orange. Borrowing orange. There we go. Good morning. Good morning. It's a single player game, all right. Yeah, apparently the anime is very, very, very good. I've heard a lot of good things about the anime. I need to sit down and get caught up with a bunch of anime. Yeah, that's you got the entire kit and caboodle there with the Sword Art Online. All right. It comes out July 9th? I thought it was out already. Is it like a new season, or is it like a brand new game? It was definitely Sword Art Online, which came out last year. And it must be like a new game or something. Or maybe there's new expansions coming out with it as well. I don't know. Okay, I'll have to look it up. Anyway, we got to get back to our story. Let's do it. That's what you came here for. You didn't come here to... yeah. I read about that. Yeah, I just caught something about that. Yeah, Destroy All Humans. That was... I actually have that for on the Xbox 360. It's backwards compatible. Or no, so was it even the original Xbox? Anyway, yes, it's backwards compatible, and I picked that one up. That was pretty fun. They're doing it's a remaster of the original game, from what I understand. Yeah, that's the one where you play as the aliens coming down to destroy 1950s America. Yeah, if you like Ed Wood, yeah, it's a very fun game. If you like really cheesy 1950s sci-fi movies. All the tropes. Okay, let's get on with it. Let's do it. Chapter 4. Okay, so the Whateleys, they have the grandfather, they have the daughter, and they're all very inbred, weird, and the daughter had a son No one knows who the father is. The son's growing at an abnormally fast rate and looking kind of goatish. Very goatish features. And they have some kind of weird satanic library and a ramp leading to the second floor into which cattle and horses seem to be led and never come out again. Weird. Weird stuff. Okay, that's where we are at. Hey there, Night Drift. What's going on, my man? Yeah, you're pretty much spot on there, Tillable Cat. Yeah. Yeah. Those aliens probably they're just like kicking back, being like, eh. Brought all these heat rays for nothing. Level 5's gonna get, okay, you're gonna watch Stay Alive. Okay, you have a great day there, Level 5. Thank you again for those gift subs, both yesterday and today. Very generous, thank you. Alrighty, and Night Drift is out of here as well. You have a great night. Sleep tight. Sleep tight. Chapter 4. For a decade, the annals of the Whateleys sink indistinguishably into the general life of a morbid community used to their queer ways and hardened to their May Eve and All Hallows orgies. Twice a year, they would light fires on the top of Sentinel Hill, at which times the mountain rumblings would recur with greater and greater violence, while at all seasons there were strange and portentous doings at the lonely farmhouse. In the course of time, callers professed to hear sounds in the sealed upper story, even when all the family were downstairs, and they wondered how swiftly or how lingeringly a cow or bullock was usually sacrificed. Upmost Steve, throwing their members down. Thank you, sir. Thank you kindly. I appreciate that. There was talk of a complaint to the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, but nothing ever came of it, since Dunwich folk are never anxious to call the outside world's attention to themselves. About 1923, when Wilbur was a boy of 10, whose mind, voice, stature, and bearded face gave all the impressions of maturity, a second great siege of carpentry went on at the old house. It was all inside the sealed upper part, and from bits of discarded lumber, people concluded that the youth and his grandfather had knocked out all the partitions and even removed the attic floor, leaving only one vast open void between the ground story and the peaked roof. They had torn down the great central chimney, too, and fitted the rusty range with a flimsy outside tin stovepipe. In the spring after this event, old Whately noticed the growing number of whippoorwills that would come out of Cold Spring Glen to chirp under his window at night. He seemed to regard the circumstance as one of great significance, and told the loungers at Osborne's that he thought his time had almost come. "They whistle just in tune with my breathing now," he said, "and I guess they're getting ready to catch my soul. They know it's a-going out, and don't calculate to miss it. You'll know, boys, arter I'm gone, whether they get me or not. If they do, they'll keep up a-singin' and laughin' till break o' day. If they don't, they'll kinda quiet down like. I expect them and the souls they hunt for have some pretty tough tussles sometimes." And again with the utmost Steve. Thank you. I like him. He says, "I love it. I'm out." Great stream. Okay, well, you have a great day. You have a great day, and thank you. Thank you for those embers. It means a lot. Thank you. On Lammas night, what is Lammas night? Lammas, the first day of August, formerly observed in Britain as a harvest festival during which bread baked from the first crop of wheat was blessed. Okay. On Lammas night, 1924, Dr. Horton of Aylesbury was hastily summoned by Wilbur Whately, who had lashed his one remaining horse through the darkness and telephoned from Osborne's in the village. He found old Whately in a very grave state, with a cardiac action and stertorous breathing that told of an end not far off. The shapeless albino daughter and oddly bearded grandson stood by the bedside, whilst from the vacant abyss overhead there came a disquieting suggestion of rhythmical surging or lapping, as of the waves on some level beach. The doctor, though, was chiefly disturbed by the chattering night birds outside, a seemingly limitless legion of whippoorwills that cried their endless message in repetitions timed diabolically to the wheezing gasps of the dying man. It was uncanny and unnatural. Too much, thought Dr. Horton, like the whole of the region he had entered so reluctantly in response to the urgent call. Toward 1 o'clock, old Whately gained consciousness and interrupted his wheezing to choke out a few words to his grandson. "More space, Willie! More space soon! You grows, and that grows faster. It'll be ready to sarve ye soon, boy. Open up the gates to Yog Sothoth with the long chant that you'll find on page 751 of the complete edition, and then put a match to the prison. Fire from earth can't burn it nohow." He was obviously quite mad. After a pause, during which the flock of whippoorwills outside adjusted their cries to the altered tempo, while some indications of the strange hill noises came from afar off, he added another sentence or two. "Feed it reg'lar, Willie, and mind the quantity. But don't let it grow too fast for the place, for if it busts quarters or gets out afore ye opens to Yog Sothoth, it's all over and no use. Only them from beyond can make it multiply and work. Only them, the old uns as wants to come back." But speech gave place to gasps again, and Lavinia screamed at the way the whippoorwills followed the change. It was the same for more than an hour when the final throaty rattle came. Dr. Horton drew shrunken lids over the glazing gray eyes, as the tumult of birds faded imperceptibly to silence. Lavinia sobbed, but Wilbur only chuckled while the hill noises rumbled faintly. "They didn't get him," he muttered in his heavy bass voice. Wilbur was by this time a scholar of really tremendous erudition in his one-sided way, and was quietly known by correspondents to many librarians in distant places where rare and forbidden books of old days are kept. He was more and more hated and dreaded around Dunwich because of certain youthful disappearances, which suspicion laid vaguely at his door, but was always able to silence inquiry through fear, or through use of that fund of old-time gold, which still, as in his grandfather's time, went forth regularly and increasingly for cattle buying. He was now tremendously mature of aspect, and his height, having reached the normal adult limit, seemed inclined to wax beyond that figure. In 1925, when a scholarly correspondent from Miskatonic University called upon him one day, and departed pale and puzzled, he was fully 6 3/4 feet tall. "Good morning, little Spartan. What's up? What's up?" Through all the years, Wilbur had treated his half-deformed albino mother with a growing contempt, finally forbidding her to go to the hills with him on May Eve and Hallow Mass. And in 1926, the poor creature complained to Mamie Bishop of being afraid of him. "They say there's more about him as I knows than I can tell ye, Mamie," she said, "and nowadays there's more nor what I know myself. I vow afore God I don't know what he wants, nor what he's a-tryin' to do." That Halloween, the hill noises sounded louder than ever, and fire burned on Sentinel Hill as usual. But people paid more attention to the rhythmical screaming of vast flocks of unnaturally belated whippoorwills, which seemed to be assembled near the unlighted Whately farmhouse. After midnight, their shrill notes burst into a kind of pandemonic cachinnation, which filled all the countryside, and not until dawn did they finally quiet down. Then they vanished, hurrying southward, and where they were fully a month overdue. What this meant, no one could be quite certain till later. None of the country folk seemed to have died, but poor Lavinia Whately, the twisted albino, was never seen again. In the summer of 1927, Wilbur repaired 2 sheds in the farmyard and began moving his books and effects out to them. Soon afterward, Earl Sawyer told the loungers at Osborne's that more carpentry was going on in the Whately farmhouse. Wilbur was closing all the doors and windows on the ground floor, and seemed to be taking out partitions as he and his grandfather had done upstairs 4 years before. He was living in one of the sheds, and Sawyer thought he seemed unusually worried and tremulous. People generally suspected him of knowing something about his mother's disappearance, and very few ever approached his neighborhood now. His height had increased to more than 7 feet, and showed no signs of ceasing its development. And I think actually right there is where we're going to end that. I think that's a good halfway point. It's actually it's not quite halfway. It's not quite halfway into the story. But I think that's where we're going to stop today and finish the other half of that tomorrow. Now, we still got more story time. We still got more story time today. It just seems like that's a good place to break right there. For this, because there's no way I'm finishing the rest of that today. So far, so good. I mean, it's a very slow burner. Very slow burner. Oh, boy. But I think we should end on something more uplifting, I think. More uplifting. Yeah. Oh, wow. Jer Henning, wow. Jer Henning, 2,100 followers. Very nice. Very nice. I was just taking a quick peek at Discord there. No, not Discord. Twitter. Very cool. Oh, congratulations there, Jer Henning. It's going to be a lot bigger before you know it, man. A lot bigger. I mean, yeah, it kind of snowballs. It snowballs. If you're doing things that people like, just more and more people start coming on in, and it just accelerates. It's crazy. It really is crazy. Well, very well deserved, of course. Okay, actually, I just need to take a quick peek into a section here. 1 second. We will get on with this in just one moment. More uplifting than dead cows and a goat, boy, you'd better believe it. Better believe it. Yeah, we can do it. Let us do it. Okay, actually, let me change scenes real fast, just so I can take a peek at, yeah, just so you can't see all my other stuff. In the library. Which one is it? It is called blah 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 blah. What is it? Ah, no, it was written by Oscar Wilde. Search. It's from the House of Pomegranates. No, no. There we go. That's what it's called. All right, let us do it. And there's actually, okay, let me change the stream title here as well. Okay, oh yeah, so for those who are with us, for those who might be new, hi there. I'm Stephen J. Carrington, and I read books here on Mixer. I do. Book Club, I stream out to YouTube. Well, our main stream is here on Mixer, mixer.com/CarringtonTV. During the whole Rona. During the Rona, we are restreaming Story Time, Book Club, out to YouTube and Twitch and Periscope, because yeah, I don't know. I think it's. I think we all need a little more distraction right now. There's a lot of people stuck at home. A lot of schools out. Trying to figure out how to get some kind of entertainment going. That's why we're doing that. But and we also do gaming. We do gaming in the evening. So come join us on Mixer for that. But here we go. I'm just changing our book title here. Oscar Wilde. And it's going to have a little cameo by the little match girl from Hans Christian Andersen in this one here. Anyway, so the book that we're reading is is actually from the from the pages of Weird Tales, is the Dunwich horror by H.P. Lovecraft, and we'll continue with the second half of that tomorrow. Perwade, what is up? What is up, Perwade? Can we do some, Hawthorne? Yeah, well, yeah, we've only done one, oh no, we used to do a bunch of that. We read The Scarlet Letter, Nathaniel Hawthorne, yeah. We read The Scarlet Letter, and I got a big book of his short stories as well. Yeah, he wrote some great stuff. If you have anything in particular, let me know. Wesley Wolf throwing down a host. Thank you. I dig those. But yeah, you know, I try to accommodate special requests best as I can. That cowboy thing we read just recently, the Lone Star Ranger. Yeah, that wasn't my idea. I just read that because Shadow Pops kept jumping up and down saying, "Hey, how about a cowboy western?" Wah, wah, wah. So I was like, oh, okay. That's how we do it. That's how it works. Yeah. So yeah, Tillable Cat, yeah, if there's especially if there's anything in particular you'd like to hear, we can do that. Or I could just if any of these authors, by the way, have like short story compilations and the like, those are much easier to squeeze in, especially like, you know, when we've got like a little half hour to kill or something towards the end of a thing there. Dwayne, I think Rose is still swooning. Rose is still swooning over Buck Dwayne. The House of the Seven Gables. Is that by Nathaniel Hawthorne? He didn't write that, did he? Yeah. That's no, that's by can't remember her name. Oh, it is by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Huh. House of the Seven Gables. Look it up. Okay. Oh, Wuthering Heights. I need to do that one. Hang on. Okay, but this is a gothic. Oh, Colors does supernatural with. Oh, it had a strong influence on the work of H.P. Lovecraft. Interesting. Okay. All right. No, I was thinking of something else. All right. Well, I can't read it while you're still hot and bothered with Buck Dwayne there, Rose. It'll be too much for you. Yeah, it's yeah. Don't worry, I will let you know well in advance. It's not starting on Monday. Actually, you know, I don't know what we are starting on Monday. I know I'm gonna try and find something cool. I don't know. Last thing we need is we lose Rose to the vapors or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Hey, Borrowing Orange. What's going on? Borrowing Orange was over there on YouTube earlier. Yeah. You know, I've never really got any traction. Never really got any traction on YouTube or Twitch or Periscope. But anyway, we get it over. Heathcliff bumps Dwayne. Wow. Okay. There's no. Buck Dwayne, he's last week's news. Yeah, right. Fair enough. Okay, we'll get into our story in just a minute. Okay, this is one of those stories. It's kind of sad. This is gonna be it is a bit of a sad one, but it's also a good one. It's also a good one. This reminds us, hang on. What's number 4? One second, this doesn't make sense. One second.